welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And man, does it feel great to be getting back to Lucha Underground. What a show this was. I mean, like all usual Lucha Underground episodes, I'm really about to begin to say that this is just par for the course, because we had great wrestling matches. The storylines that got furthered, excellent. I mean, the intrigue just continues to build. And in particular, one storyline, I love how they brought back a certain conflict, which we'll get into later, and tied it in to a much bigger story. I thought that was brilliant, because details that I had already passed over or thought were minute, Lucha Underground says, that's critical. I love how this show tells stories more than anything, and this episode, I think, really illuminated that. But Ashton, what'd you think of it?
I'm beginning to learn that there are no minute details in Lucha Underground. If there is a detail, there is a level of importance to it.
Exactly. I think
it's brilliant. It's so good. Little things, like even if you want to go back to the first episode, the first scene of the first episode that you and I just kind of passed over thinking, oh, well, that was a really cool way to introduce everybody to the show. El Dragon Azteca is there, and he says, come with me. Let me teach you about Lucha Libre. Or what do you know about Lucha Libre? And then in, I think it was like episode 20-something, he said the same thing to Angela Fong, who we now know they call her Black Lotus. And everything comes back to something. And if it isn't coming back to something, it's because something in the future is going to come back to it.
Beautifully said. There's nothing I can really add to that. Let's get right into our first segment. Heat of the night. I've got no heats of the night tonight. I've got no nitpicks. I loved everything that Lucha Underground did here tonight. What about you, Ashton?
No, yeah, same here. I think that everything that they did made perfect sense. Everything was good. Really, just another flawless show from Lucha Underground. I don't think I've ever witnessed a show this good, this consistently, for this long of an amount of time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how consistent. Really, that's the thing. How consistent this show has been. I don't think it's had any dips, and if it has, it hasn't been like a dip so severe that it kind of changes the complexion of everything. It's just been really absolutely unbelievable. But with that said, let us roll right on through to our Lucha Underground review. And, of course, we get a video recap of all the main stories that are going to be highlighted, in tonight's episode. And then we go right into a matchup, kind of a cold open, with Prince Puma, the Lucha Underground champion, versus Marty the Moth Martinez.
And first of all, let's just get it out of the way. They mentioned TWitWoW on commentary during Puma's entrance, and John and I were going to watch this show last night, that being Wednesday night, but 4 minutes in, we heard John and Ashton from TWitWoW and proceeded to pause and mark out.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Thanks again to, Lucha Underground for that shout out. Really meant the world to both of us. We have the clip isolated on Ashton's channel, so you guys want to check that out. You can see it for yourselves. Absolutely unbelievable. But, that said.
That said, though, that was actually after my second favorite part about the lead up to this match, that being while Melissa Santos is announcing Marty the Moth Martinez's name, he's standing behind her, sniffing her, acting like a total creeper. And then when she gets done announcing his name, he gets this big, goofy smile on his face, and he goes down into almost like a Shawn Michaels pose, except he just flaps his arms like he's trying to fly like a moth.
Yeah, a character's gonna work when he just immediately makes me feel anxious aardvark. And I'm just
He's so good, dude. I love it.
He is you said creeper, and I was so off-put by Martin. Like, I'm seeing him sniff Melissa Santos, and I'm like, just I don't know what to say to it.
That's my thing, though, dude. If you felt uncomfortable, he's doing his job.
He really is. He really, I'm telling you. And see, here's the thing, right? I love how can I put this, because he's not necessarily reserved, right? But I don't think he's as cartoonish as, say, like a Snitsky became later in his run. Like, I think he's found a good balance of, like, just crazy enough.
It's comic book. It's not cartoon. It's comic book.
Yeah, it's comic book. I think
it's
that's
that ground between gritty reality and cartoon.
Exactly, and I think he walks that line very well.
Yeah.
And then I love, though, like, how this match, because obviously, you know, Puma makes entrance, does his thing. Conan immediately says, like, hey, you know, he's a joke. Treat him like a joke.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how everybody's perceiving Marty the Moth, right? Like, this is his debut. It's against the Lucha Underground champion. Anybody that would go by the opinions of other people, like, you know, the Dario Cuetos, the Conans, would think that this is going to be a squash match. But that's what makes this match so good, because it really isn't. It starts with Marty the Moth hugging Puma and acting like a fan, saying, oh, it's Prince Puma, come on, everybody give it up for Prince Puma. And, like, yeah, like, he's being a fan.
But then immediately the switch turns, and he nails Puma with a lariat, takes his freaking head off.
Yeah, and see, like, that, I feel like, again, is the dichotomy between Puma and Conan, because Conan just wanted Puma to, like, rip Marty's throat out and get it done. Puma was kind of bewildered by it, and he's like, oh, this guy's harmless, I'll take a picture for him. Like, literally, he was asking for a picture to be taken while they were in the ring. And he let his guard down, and Marty the Moth just hits that vicious clothesline to Puma. And yeah, I mean, Marty the Moth really showed something. He has a beautiful standing drop kick. Let me just say that right now. He did a drop kick in this match, and his vertical leap is just exceptional.
Yeah.
He got quite a bit of offense in, I think more than anybody would have, you know, again, anticipated, especially against the Lucha Underground champion.
What I love, too, is that in between everything Marty was doing, as far as, like, when he was on offense, in between everything, he would, like, take a step back and pose and get that big shit-eating grin on his face directed right at the crowd. It was so good.
It was like, okay, offense, step back, flap arms, surrender.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so good, and like you could just tell, and it's great too because the whole angle is that he's a fan, and he's looking at the fans like, this could be you, but it's me.
Suck it. Oh man, that's great. But I mean, ultimately, Puma does, you know, rally the comeback, and he does get the win in this match.
But you know what though? Between the attempted moonsault and the awesome lariat, and you said something about his drop kick, and he hit a vicious looking, it was like, I couldn't tell if it was a bicycle kick or like a Roderick Strong sick kick, but either way, it looked incredibly painful, and it took Puma out for a while. But yeah, like you said, eventually Puma does take over. He nails a blue thunder bomb, which he actually uses to set up for his finisher, the 630, and that was the end of that. But still, great stuff from Marty the Moth. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more from this guy in the future.
Oh, and you will. We all will. But yeah, great showing there by Puma and Marty the Moth. Nice opening matchup, because I think it, again, gives credibility to Marty the Moth, and I think only furthers the intrigue. So with that said, Ashton, what was our next segment?
Our next segment, well, I mean, before we get into our next segment, let's not forget, Hernandez showed up after the match at the top of the steps.
That is true, yes. Hernandez does appear. Makes himself known. Conan pretty much runs him down, you know, verbally on the microphone. He says, you know, I thought...
Conan was being really aggressive tonight. Like, even just talking to Puma from the outside, normally you can't hear him, but tonight he was loud and clear, and he was acting more like an angry coach than a freaking mentor.
Yeah, I think Stryker even made, like, a coach reference. And he's just like, finish it, Puma, finish it. And, like, he's really thinking, you know, like, oh, this should have been done already. And then, you know, with Hernandez, gives him a real tongue lashing, saying, you know, I thought you were my boy, but you're just a punk. And I think he called him, like, nutbags or something. And just said, you know, you want to do something, you'll come down here and let's fight. Hernandez seems like he's going to oblige, like, we're going to see.
I thought he called him baby nuts.
Baby nuts, I think it was. And Hernandez doesn't oblige. He goes back up the stairs. And so they don't fight it out, but you know that world title match is coming, and you gotta wonder if Conan is just potentially keeping up appearances to, again, plunder the knife in Puma's back. But then again, with Lucha Underground, you can never make any assumptions. That's mistake number one. So I'm keeping my mind open to all possibilities with Conan at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, it for a moment here, it felt almost like a setup. It felt like Conan was trying to make it seem like he was being this tough guy and setting Puma up to look like a really cool tough guy that'll defend his title whenever, but he was really just setting it up so that Hernandez could win the title off of him. But then Hernandez backs down, and you're not really sure what to think.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't know where Konnan truly stands because, again, I mean, Vampiro has said certain things about, characters or angles in the past, and I realize that, maybe he's kind of a voice we should listen to more. In fact, I know I said that on a past episode of Lucha Underground TWitWoW, and he is not like Konnan from the jump, and I know they have a history, and that's a big part of that, but I think you almost have to wonder if you give any credence to that. So it's tough. Again, I'm keeping my mind open to Konnan. We'll see if he stabs Puma in the back or not.
Well, and speaking of Vampiro, that's a perfect transition to our next segment because Vampiro had a sit-down interview with Johnny Mundo. And John, I know that this was probably your favorite segment of the night, so I'm going to take a back seat on this one and let you take over.
Just keeping it objective and level-headed, I really like this. I mean, this is what I was waiting for Mundo to go heel. I feel like he's a much more comfortable talker that way. And I think that definitely came across here in my personal opinion. I would definitely like your 2 cents on that too, Ashton. And Vampiro just wanted to get to the heart of it. Like, why did you put El Patron through the window? And he said, and Johnny Mundo pretty much says, hey, I came here to be the best wrestler in the world. There are a lot of great athletes here, but none of them can do what I do. Vampiro, is a little bit more aggressive in his question. He says, that's fine. I'm a fan of yours, everything. Don't punch the messenger. But I'm trying to figure out, like, why you put his head through the window. And then Mundo, comes out and says, well, hey, he's overpaid and overrated. I've been here since day one, and he only came here, to do something other than bully somebody in catering. So I guess a little reference to why he got fired. Which I really like, that little nod. And, Vampiro says, well, he's a champion, he's this and he's that. And he says, well, I've worked, my spot here. And then he comes and he takes things away from me. So I'm just letting him know, like, this is my world. And then he ends it with, but you already knew that. And he does the Alberto El Patron wink. So I really liked it here. I mean, he says that he's putting Patron behind him, but we know that Patron isn't going to let that slide.
Right.
But again, what I really liked here is that, because here's the thing, Ashton, if I can just say this very quickly. I've been like a Morrison fan for years. And part of like one of the most difficult things to deal with as a Morrison fan when he was a face, everybody would trash his mic skills. And the one reference they would make was his backstage interview when he was getting ready to face Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship. They just said how cringeworthy, how bad it was. And I could agree to a point. He didn't seem comfortable. It seemed forced. Here, it seemed incredibly straightforward. He seemed very relaxed. I think he's going to do great work on the mic as a heel, and I think he passed the first test for me personally. But I'd like to know, what did you think of this whole thing? What he said, how he said it, all that stuff.
I can see where people would say that it didn't feel natural, but on that same note, I don't really think it matters for this specific case because he wasn't trying to, cut a promo, brother. He was just kind of talking, and it worked. Right. And it might not have felt 100% natural, but I don't think that that's necessarily because he's a bad actor. I think that's just how he talks. Like, I feel like he could just like be sitting at home talking to his dog, and it would probably feel the same way. Right. I don't know. It was good in my opinion. I think that they need to kind of up the heel factor a little bit if they're going to go with this, because it does, like, right now it feels like he's kind of, riding the fence. Like he wants to be booed, but on that same note, he wants to be booed as the cool guy rather than as the bad guy.
Yeah, you know what? Let me take the reins again here very quick and say I completely agree with you. I think if I had one honest criticism, again, trying to keep it objective and keep the fanboy suppressed, I wish he would have healed it up a bit more. Because, let's be blunt about it. You put a guy through a window. He's sitting at home right now taking shards of glass out of his face.
And that's another thing, too, that I forgot to mention. He really kind of made this seem almost like a babyface act.
Yeah.
Because he made it seem like he was defending the honor of Lucha Underground over AAA.
Exactly. And that's not what this story is about. Now don't get me wrong. Knowing that Patron was, picking shards of glass out of his face puts the biggest smile on mine. But, I'm an anomaly here. I think when you're telling it to the general audience, this is about the fact. And that's why I did like that line. I just wish he would have went further with that line. Johnny Mundo was on the first episode of Lucha Underground. He was building that fanfare, building that momentum. It seemed like he was going to be Lucha Underground champion, or at least a consistent fixture in that title picture. And then, bam! Patron comes in, AAA title in tow, and because of his heritage, his lineage, his career, immediate respect, immediate limelight, and that's got to rub Mundo the wrong way. And then you also combine the WWE history that they fully acknowledged, without actually dropping the promotion's name, take a hint TNA. They were able to build on that as well. But Mundo, I don't think, went far enough with that because, like you said, it made it seem like, I'm defending Lucha Underground's honor because this guy comes in and he's just completely antithetical to what this place is about when this is my world. And I just wish he would have healed it up more too. So I think I wholly agree with you on that line of criticism. But I think hopefully it's something he'll grow into, and especially when Patron reemerges, I think that's when hopefully we'll see Mundo's best work as a villain because I think he has a lot to give. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I both know he has a lot to give as a heel.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he had a lot to give as a face too, but he's decidedly better when he gets to play the notorious, dastardly sort of, I don't know, prankster. I don't think prankster's the right word, but yeah, he's like when he's devious is when he's best.
Yeah,
and that's the thing too is that I don't think he's ever gonna be like this unstoppable monster heel.
No,
he's the chicken shit, pulling pranks, telling jokes, making people laugh at good guys, but being a dick about it kind of heel.
Yeah, I mean, he's that guy that, I mean, picture, like, when Ziggler was a heel, he's that guy with that overinflated sense of confidence, can definitely back it up, but is going to use any means necessary just to back up his claim at the end of the day when he knows his athleticism isn't enough.
Right.
And that's just who he is. So I can't wait for the rematch, I'll tell you that right now. Like, I am so ready for it. And this segment, while not bad, I think there's always room for improvements. Let's hope he heals it up in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, up next, we had second match of the night, DelAvar Daivari. I like that they actually gave him a first name. They gave it to him last week, but I forgot it. So I'm glad that I remembered his first name tonight. How about that? Versus Texano.
You know what? And see, like, oh my God. What I love about Lucha Underground, again, how many times have you heard that sentence by now, guys? But
another thing I love.
Yeah, it's like it never stops. Like,
yeah.
Where do we get to the hate column? It doesn't exist. But another thing I do love about these guys.
I hate that Lucha Underground spoils us so much.
I know, right? I hate that. Well, actually, no. You know what? I'm glad for only once a week because then I have to suffer with the anticipation, and it feels good to do that for a change.
And I hate it, and I secretly love that they spoil us because if they didn't spoil us, I wouldn't be as happy.
Exactly. But I love how Texano, he comes in, and I'm thinking, and again, we go back to assumptions. We got to really drill it to all new viewers because I'm sure they'll be making assumptions too. Oh, Texano's going to be this new top heel in Lucha Underground because he's immediately going after Patron. And again, as I said in the prior segment, Patron's so beloved and everything else. And now it seems like Texano could be not just a babyface, but if they really run with this, one of the top baby faces. I love just like that, because originally when DelAvar Daivari made the attack, you and I thought, well, maybe he's the baby face, because he was just kind of watching the match. Texano collided into him. Texano was a heel at the time, and they did all that. But then, as the story progressed, we realized, no, Texano's looking like the babyface here, and tonight certainly confirmed it with what they did. And I'm glad they obliterated that ambiguity. They made no uncertain terms. This is the babyface. This is the heel. And I think Texano's going to do great in this role. I'm very intrigued what's going to be done. Daivari, we know. I think he has proven heel work, and I particularly like this gimmick. We learned a little bit more about him. I mean, we know that he got his money through real estate, but Stryker made known tonight, it's more his parents' money, so he's just kind of coasting by. So not only is he rich, he's like that apathetic kind of rich in terms of legwork and everything, so all the more reason to hate him.
Yeah, like he can own it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's a great, heel kind of thing there, a great character to work off of. And, it's a nice back and forth matchup. They're really fighting it out and things like that. But ultimately, this match yet again doesn't get a definitive finish, but it's not because both guys are overly aggressive. It was because of the introduction of a third party. So with that, I'm going to give it to Ashton here.
Well, I mean, said third party being Big Ryck, who we're only assuming is getting paid now by DelAvar Daivari to basically just kind of humiliate his opponents and play bodyguard, I guess you could say. Bodyguard, heavy, whatever you want to call him. He is in Daivari's corner, decidedly in Daivari's corner.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I mean, it's a very obvious connection to make because in the preceding week, Big Ryck had that segment with the Mac about, I follow the money, I go where the money is, and as commentary really drove home, which I love them for that, DelAvar Daivari has money in abundance.
Yep.
So, now the idea that Big Ryck is going to be Daivari's heavy, that's going to take him far in Lucha Underground. See, now, because of how Daivari looks and everything, I thought, oh, well, he's going to be a good heel, but I don't know how far he would go. But with a guy like Big Ryck in your corner, maybe even the Lucha Underground Championship doesn't become an impossibility now. Because when you have muscle like that serving you, what can't you get done? So
I don't know, but you would have to think that if the Lucha Underground World Championship was even in view and even in like this vicinity, Big Ryck's attention would turn towards winning it for himself.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to assume, right? But I mean, how deep do Daivari's pockets go?
That's the question right there.
Yeah, you know what? I like the alignment of everything here because I think Big Ryck, especially with those motivations, I do think he works better as a heel. Although, if you give him the right nemesis to work off of as that monster babyface, that really works too. That's why I feel like the crew works so well. And yeah, everybody's alignment here I think is exactly as it should be. And I think all three guys will just continue towards a prosperous future going forward, particularly with this angle. So.
Can we talk a little bit about Texano, though?
Sure.
Because I thought that he was really good in this, and he's actually playing babyface now.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm shocked he's in this babyface role, but it does work. Like
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't know why you're so shocked. It seems like he's pretty natural at it. He's got that fire, man.
I mean, I just assumed with the way he came in, laying out Patron, like I said earlier.
I know, but the thing is, like, even then, I almost saw him as a babyface because I can't help but see Patron as a heel.
Yeah, Patron does have that, like, natural douchiness, but, like, that's not even trying to be a dig at him. I guess that's kind of a vibe he gives off.
It's because we got so used to him in WWE, it's hard to imagine him in any other role.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's definitely it. But, yeah, Texano, very good in that babyface role. Again, I think he has potential to take one of those, like, top babyface roles, especially now that a guy like Mundo has turned heel. You're going to need somebody to take that spot.
Oh, and by the way, just to throw back to the Johnny Mundo segment, I love that Johnny Mundo came out and said Alberto needs to understand that Johnny Mundo isn't some guy in catering that he can just slap around.
Yeah, like I said, I love the reference to Alberto's termination there by Mundo and then ending with his catchphrase in the wink. So, Great stuff there.
Really, but yeah, back to Texano, though.
Yeah, back to Texano.
He did some really good work tonight, and his selling was on point. And even like when Daivari hit him with the random Frankensteiner after the Big Ryck attack, he did a really good job of acting both a combination of hurt and like not even knowing what to do with himself. Because when you're going up against not only this little, I mean, by Lucha Underground terms, Daivari is pretty average, but next to Texano, he's a pipsqueak.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden he's got Big Ryck standing behind him.
Exactly. Also, too, I have to say that not only was Texano great in the babyface role, but I feel like they did a great job of building sympathy for him because after Big Ryck lays him out, DelAvar Daivari, he gets his Johnny Walker and he tells the referee to count. And while he's drinking his drink, he pins Texano, even though officially Texano won by DQ. Just great stuff. I'm telling you, I'm very confident with all three of these performers going forward.
Yeah. Definitely impressed with Texano tonight. I think that he is kind of the reason, I guess I could say, that I'm really happy that they decided to bring in the top AAA guys like him and Alberto. I'm happy about that because I've never seen Texano work before, and being able to see him now in a babyface role has been a real pleasure.
Definitely. So,
I'm looking forward to him being able to work a longer, more meaningful match as a babyface.
Yeah, completely.
Because I feel like Texano as a heel just boils down to roll out of the ring a lot, use the bull rope, get disqualified.
Right.
So definitely looking forward to seeing it. And then actually he's going to be in the Lucha Libre World Cup on Sunday too.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. As you guys know, we're going to be doing live reactions to that, so it's going to be a very unique experience. I'm very much looking forward to it.
There are actually going to be quite a few guys from Lucha Underground in that tournament.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I mean, the Dream Team is going to be Rey Mysterio, Mysticis, formerly known as Mystico, or the original Sin Cara, and Alberto El Patron. And then for Team Mexico 1, I think is there more than one? Yeah, there must be. We have El Hijo del Fantasma, which is King Cuerno, who's amazing. El Texano Jr., El Texano, and Psycho Clown, who hasn't been on Lucha Underground. And then the team Mexican Legends is going to have Blue Demon Jr. on it, as well as two other guys that haven't been on Lucha Underground yet. Team Rest of the World has Angelico and Mil Muertes on it, as well as Drew Galloway. Sucks because that team is amazing, and they're probably going to lose in the first round. Team TNA / Lucha Underground's got Matt Hardy, Mr. Anderson, and Johnny Mundo on it. And then Team ROH Lucha Underground's got Moose, ACH, and Brian Cage, now in Lucha Underground known as Cage. So lots of Lucha Underground representatives. So it seems like a really heavy AAA Lucha Underground show with a few guys from other promotions getting kind of drizzled in.
Yeah, I mean, just for the record, Johnny Mundo is totally the captain of his team, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, actually, it says right here that Matt Hardy is.
Yeah, well, that old jobber needs to know his place. But regardless, I'm really, really glad that all of the representation that Lucha Underground has in this cup, and I wish all the performers the best on their respective teams, especially Johnny Mundo. So now, with that all established, yeah, just love this match. Loved again the possibilities that arose from it. So with that said, I mean, what's our next segment?
Our next segment was Dario Cueto's office with Catrina.
Oh, man, yep.
She kind of creeps up on him, and she's whispering in his ear. She wants him to set up a match between Mil Muertes and, I'm assuming, Phoenix. I didn't actually catch her say Phoenix, but I'm assuming that's what she said. And she even specifies in a death match.
Yeah, and then she disappears. So I think that's what we're getting next week. Phoenix, Mil Muertes death match. Now, is that just a way of saying, like, hardcore match, like no rules, or do you think... Like,
or is it a way of saying, like, loser leaves town match?
Maybe. I mean, with Lucha Underground, I don't know. It's funny, because even the match types, you can't take as straightforward, because if, like, an ECW or WWE said death match, then you're like, no. Like, oh, no rules, everything is legal, all that good stuff, but here...
Or is it like a CZW-style death match?
Exactly. Like, I don't know, man. It's going to be crazy, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I want to say that I'm looking forward to it because it sounds horrifying.
It is. I mean, these are the same two guys. Hey, their Grave Consequences match made my match of the year list. Let's see what they can do now with a death match. I'm very intrigued. So. To
this day, is the Grave Consequences match still your match of the year for Lucha Underground, or do you have any other tenders for that?
No, the Grave Consequences is my only match of the year so far for Lucha Underground.
Wow, that actually kind of surprises me.
I know, a match that doesn't have Johnny Mundo in it. You see, people? I am capable. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what these guys can do in a death match.
All right, well, up next we had an amazing pair of cinematic vignettes, I guess you could call them. First, we see Black Lotus. I'm going to refer to her as that now from now on because now we actually know her character name. Used to refer to her as Angela Fong. I believe that's her real name. But Black Lotus in Lucha Underground, walking in what looks to be a parking lot. I don't know for sure. But she specifies that she wants to kill Dario Cueto's brother. And it's sort of implied that she left without El Dragon Azteca knowing because he's sitting in the I don't even know what the dojo maybe, whatever the building was that he was training her in, reading what looks to be her journal, and next thing you know, Chavo Guerrero shows up.
Yeah, Chavo Guerrero shows up, says, if you want to keep her alive, you're gonna need my help.
Yep.
So I love it. Like, where does Chavo fit into this equation, which we find out.
When did Chavo become a good guy again is my question.
When did Chavo become a good guy? And again, I feel like that question's kind of answered because would you really call him a good guy or a guy, going into business for himself? And again, the immediate segment that follows this, which we'll get to in a second, I think answers all those questions. And Angela Fong, or Black Lotus, mind you, you had to figure was going to go her own way eventually. We saw in the, all these segments leading up to it that she really didn't want to be restrained, that she, very hesitantly, tentatively, kind of relented and said, okay, fine, I'll stay, I'll keep working. But you knew, like, her desire to kill Dario Cueto's brother Matanza was just really coming to a boiling point. So seeing her walk out was not a surprise. And now, the whole mission is keep Black Lotus alive. So.
Absolutely. And they straight up have an exchange over a fire, it looked like. And Chavo tells El Dragon Azteca that he's going to protect her. And El Dragon Azteca says that he will clear Chavo's debt, but he needs to protect her with his life.
Yeah, very interesting because, again, when Chavo Guerrero was in Lucha Underground, I mean, really in the thick of it, and Conan would tell him, hey, you know, people in Mexico, you know, want your head. You need to make yourself as clear as, like, a comprehensive immigration bill, and you need to get out of there. I just thought it was, like, a device to get Chavo heat, like, oh, that's how many people hate him because of his attack on Blue Demon Jr., and, you know, it was just like, you know, like a by-the-numbers heel device, like, oh, what a dastardly guy, this is how much people hate him. But now to know that it's gotten so bad that he's going to El Dragon Azteca to clear that debt, and he's willing to, you know, protect Black Lotus to do it, I just think goes that you cannot overlook anything said in Lucha Underground that may be of the, you know, even the most minute importance. And like you said, you don't even really feel like there are any minute details in Lucha Underground. I think this proves it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just the idea that Chavo has a debt in the first place. I don't know if it's entirely because of what he did to Blue Demon or if it even has anything to do with that. But if it does, it's amazing storytelling. And even if it doesn't, it's still good storytelling because the idea that the Guerrero family has been like these lying, cheating, like you think about, oh, Eddie Guerrero was so amazing. He used to lie, cheat, and steal. Well, wait a minute. That's not a good thing. That's not, you know, that's not something that people should be doing. And then you think about Chavo being proud of it. And it's like, wow, this is, I mean, I get it. Like, I get that El Dragon Azteca wouldn't trust them because of their family reputation, really. But now he's saying, yeah, I'll clear your debt, but you need to protect Black Lotus with your life.
Absolutely. We'll see if Chavo Guerrero can fulfill that obligation. Only time will tell.
It's almost like a Schrodinger's cat situation, because if Chavo protects Catrina with his life, sure, his debt's cleared, but he's dead.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, he's alive, which is great, but then his debt isn't cleared because he didn't protect her with his life.
Exactly. So
the only way for Chavo to get out of this in a good situation is if Black Lotus gets out alive.
Exactly. And you know Black Lotus is going to be, you know, stubborn about even knowing that, you know, she's being,
someone's
you know,
protecting her.
Yeah, exactly. She just wants to get her hands on Matanza. She doesn't want to hear anything else. So we'll see how all of these interests conflict and, you know, what they bring to a head when the time comes. And just who the hell is Matanza? That question still looms. Lucha Underground is doing a masterful job spinning this narrative.
Absolutely. Up next, though, we had our final match of the night, final segment of the night, and an absolutely bonkers match in and of itself. The ladder match for the Trios Championship. It's the Crew, that being Mr. Cisco, Cortez Castro, and Bale, versus Ivelisse, Angelico, and Son of Havoc.
Yeah, I mean, what a great matchup this was. I feel like it brilliantly, you know, was able to utilize Ivelisse given her injury with her ankle.
Yep.
I love that. I mean, you know, Dario Cueto gave the warning to the Crew earlier in the show, you know, the gods, this is your chance to make a sacrifice.
That's right. I forgot to write that down, but that did happen.
I just thought I would tie it into the whole main event segment.
Thank you for bringing it back.
Yeah, so he says, you know, either you make a sacrifice tonight with this ladder match, or, you know, I'll have no problem, you know, sacrificing you. Or I know
No. Yeah, he knows somebody that would have no problem.
And
yeah.
obviously,
it makes you think about Pentagon Jr.
Pentagon Jr., I was thinking more Matanza because he already showed the monster in the cage, and the Crew just had looks on their face like...
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's so funny because as soon as someone mentions a sacrifice, my mind immediately goes to Pentagon.
As it should. But, yeah, we got a little, you know, pluralistic options here. We got Pentagon, we got Matanza, we got, you know, whoever. But, yeah, great back and forth between these two teams.
I love that basically the only person that stands a chance against the Crew members is Son of Havoc, and he beats all three of them by himself sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so good, and it's crazy because there were two separate instances in this match where he just went on an absolute tear against all three members of the Crew. Now, granted, neither one of them ended with him actually being successful because he did end up getting sort of shut down at one point or another during his little flurries of offense. But the fact that he gets that much momentum, that he can take on three guys at once, you really have to wonder how soon it's going to be before he wins the Lucha Underground World title.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It does feel inevitable, I would say, for season 2, maybe 3.
Season 2, to kind of put it like in more of a timeline where I'm comfortable, by month estimate, I would say I'd give him 3 months after dropping the Trios Tag Team Championships. It wouldn't take him long at all after losing that gold to find new gold in the Lucha Underground Championship, because this crowd loves him. And
that's another thing, too, is that when he is down and, like, the crew is, like, hovering in their glory, that is when the crowd gets behind him, and the crowd getting behind him is kind of what fuels his comebacks. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. It's brilliantly done. Speaking of things that are brilliantly done, I really appreciated the crew's heel work here.
Oh, yeah.
Flipping off the crowd. One of them was guarding Ivelisse. I think it was
Bale.
Bale, had no problem just punching Ivelisse in the mouth. That was great heel heat there.
Yep.
I think it was...
they did a really good job of working around her injury, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because that happened really early on in the match. Like, she just got popped in the face. And then it was almost like that turtle on their shell kind of thing, because, like, if you only have one leg, it's got to be a lot more difficult for you to go from lying down on the ground from injury to standing up. Even if you have the aid of the mat, the ring apron to help you up, like, still, I mean, between the selling of the punch and having to actually get yourself up with 1 foot, it's not an easy task.
Right, yeah. This whole match is built around the fact that she's injured.
Yeah, it really was. It was 3-on-2, 95% of this match.
Exactly, and what a 95% it was.
And really, it was 3-on-1 for most of the match.
Yeah,
because even if at one point it was 2-on-1 against Angelico, but most of the match really did feel like Son of Havoc versus the crew.
Yeah, definitely.
And he won more than you would expect.
Yeah. Really, I mean, he even got one, painful-looking spot, I guess, because the table didn't break it, that shooting star press.
Yeah, that was... Man, that's a shame that table didn't give. That would have been such an awesome visual.
Definitely.
But then, like, you could even see afterwards that the legs bent rather than the table itself.
Right. And you know what? Even if it did kind of take the crowd out of it a little bit, Angelico certainly brought him back with his exciting offense.
Yeah, he comes off of the top of Dario Cueto's office again. This time, though, there was nobody to catch him. That makes it even more impressive to me, because the first time it was a crossbody, and the guys that were in the ring that he hit the crossbody with, they caught him. They slowed his momentum down so that it wasn't as painful for him. But with this, it was a drop kick. You don't get slowed down from a drop kick. He took the full brunt of that bump, and it was... Man, talk about painful. Talk about laying your body on the line to entertain a crowd. And in a kayfabe sense, to retain your championships.
And I think what made this even more impressive, on top of the fact that it's a drop kick, he did it while a guy was, ascending a ladder. So it's not even like the aim, I think, has got to be even more on point than if a guy was just stationary, like standing.
The precision, that's King Cuerno level precision right there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that he hit his mark. And I gotta be honest, as a fan, like, I'm starting to realize now how people, when they get older, they say, well, is the violence really worth, like, seeing all this? Because as much as I love those breathtaking spots from Angelico, it feels so good to breathe when I see him move. Because when he's not moving, I'm like, oh, God, he's dead. You killed him. And then he moves, and I'm like, oh, thank Christ.
Imagine what would happen if you were as old as you are now in 96.
Oh, my God.
97, the Taker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell spot.
I would have been like, stop it, he's already dead.
You would have heard JR, by God, they killed him! And you would have been like, oh no, I don't want to see Mankind die on television.
Yeah, more or less. And, like, seeing Angelico, it's like, oh my God. I was just so grateful to see him move. And the stuns that he does, the spots that he does.
Yeah, it's crazy because he is a combination of Dean Ambrose as an actor and Jeff Hardy as a stuntman and Justin Gabriel as a high flyer. And it's just so good. Everything. He's amazing.
He really, really is. And yes, ultimately it's Ivelisse that comes in after Angelico makes that sacrifice. She does get some resistance while climbing up the ladder.
She bites Mr. Cisco's hand.
Yeah, and then slaps it off. He falls off. So all these guys, you got to figure the crew's got to be pretty pissed at Mr. Cisco because, okay, I took a chair shot. I went through a table. I got freaking drop kicked when a guy flew off the office. And you give up after getting your hand bit.
and then slaps.
Screw you guys. Yeah, and then
Hey, man, have you ever been bit before? It hurts.
Yes, in fact, I have more times than I care to admit, but that's not the point. The point is, okay, that the
I guess
crew,
that's the trivia or the drama that comes along with having an older sister.
Indeed. But, you know, you look at the crew and they just got to be looking at him like, you done fucked up. Because now...
That's the crazy thing, too, is because not only did the strange bedfellows, as we lovingly call them, win, but the crew lost. And that's got more of an impact than the champions retaining. Because now Dario Cueto is going to be pissed.
Yeah, you're not seeing the crew.
And that's another thing. I'm so glad I remembered to mention this. Cueto's expression. And that's another great thing that happened in this match. The crew removed the wooden boards that they had up from Alberto El Patron getting put through the window and used them as weapons. But on that same note, that unveiled Cueto in his office. At first he was on the phone, but then he got to watch the match. He had a first row seat to the match. And the best part of this whole thing, at the very end, after the Strange Bedfellows retain their championship, Cueto's expression.
Yeah, he was miffed. He couldn't believe it. Like
he had this look on his face that was a combination of, where did I go wrong? And maybe I didn't go wrong. Maybe I just had all my eggs in the wrong basket.
Yeah. But you know what, though?
There was almost like a little sense of, man, I guess these guys aren't as bad as I thought they were in his expression.
Yeah, but you know what, though? This raises two interesting questions. A, what's going to happen to the crew? Because allow me to just backstep very quickly and qualify. When I say you're not going to see the crew again, I mean you're not going to see the crew again like this. I have no doubt we're going to see them in the future, but they're going to be different from the way they are now, whatever Cueto has planned for them.
What do you think he's going to do, man?
I think feed them to Matanza, but maybe they'll survive and just emerge differently. I don't know, maybe even more ruthless, whatever, just some kind of change. Some kind of change is going to befall the crew after this loss. But the even more interesting question to me...
Who's next?
Who's next to step up to Strange Bedfellows now?
Yep. Well, and we know it's not going to be the family either, because Big Ryck is now working for Daivari, so he doesn't have the time to wrestle with the Mac and Killshot.
Yeah.
So who is it going to be?
And I don't think it's going to be anybody from the tournament, because those were all just really unique combinations. I think it's just going to be a team that really is packaged as a trios team, like coming in from the jump, not having to learn to be one.
Maybe something involving Pentagon Jr.?
Maybe Pentagon Jr. brings back up with him or something.
What was that?
I mean, maybe Pentagon Jr. brings back up with him or something from the Master. Maybe the Master has more than just one follower. You know?
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? Maybe even it's just Pentagon. We see him, I don't know, talking to somebody, or maybe just talking to himself, but obviously he's addressing a master. And, you know, he learns that, well, you can't do it anymore, Pentagon, by yourself. Lately you've been kind of slipping, so I'm going to send people to help you. Yeah. And then we got ourselves a trio, so who knows?
Man. Whatever it is, though, it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. Just like maybe
we get the Dario Cueto proclaimed rejects back. And we get a match between the Strange Bedfellows and the team of Sexy Star, Mascarita Sagrada, and Pimpinela Escarlata.
That could work, because they do have that friendship going on.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean...
now that the crew's gone, too, because wasn't it the crew that took them out?
That's true, yeah. So, you know, they go out, you know...
Well, that's the thing, too. Is the crew going to be gone for a couple months?
I don't think we're going to see them for a while, so I'd say yeah.
We have about, I think it's like 11 or 12 episodes left in this season.
I don't think you're going to see them for the next...
Maybe even...
I'll say 6 episodes. Maybe even the rest of the season, yeah. But, I mean, if I had to put a number on it, the rest of the season, best case scenario, 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So, with that said, is there anything else you want to say about this main event?
It was amazing.
All right, let's move on to our last segment, high spots and low shots. Very straightforward low shot, the crew.
Yeah, that's a low shot. I'm going to sign on to that with you, because there is no better answer than the crew right now.
No, I mean,
they are doomed.
Yeah, I mean, how bad did these guys look that for the second straight time they really should have won the trios tag team titles on paper because it was given to them and they failed. And not just the failure in itself, the repercussions to follow.
And the crazy thing is, like, this whole time, Dario Cueto has been trying to get the titles off of Ivelisse, Angelico, and Son of Havoc. And the first time it was silver platter. They had just been through a brutal match. Ivelisse was hurt. And now this time, again, Ivelisse comes in on crutches with a freaking cast on her ankle, and they still managed to beat the Crew.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, I was saying it earlier. This was basically 3-on-1 most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And they had it. They freaking had it, and they lost it. So, I mean, what do you say to that? So, since you said that's going to be a co-low shot, do you want me to just go ahead and say my high spot then? And
go for it.
Yeah, my high spot, I'm going to be a little different. My high spot's Mil Muertes.
Yeah, dude, I was even thinking about going there. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? He's playing the mind games, and he's playing them to perfection. He's got what he's wanted it. And you know what? He hasn't even had to lift a finger to get it. That's the terrifying thing.
You know what? Can I say something, though? I think that your high spot shouldn't be Mil Muertes. It should be Catrina, because this was her idea in the first place.
It may have been her idea.
You could tell that Mil Muertes did not know what she was doing when she was tricking Fenix into basically killing Mil Muertes so that she could revive him. He didn't know. Like, he wasn't in on this plan. This was all her idea.
You know what? You make a convincing argument. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. High spot's going to be Catrina, but my honorary high spot's going to be Mil Muertes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. He's finally going to get his
Because he thought that he was doomed, and now he's coming back even stronger.
Think about that, folks.
Yeah.
Think about that.
The guy that squashed Blue Demon Jr. in 2 minutes is coming back even stronger.
And the guy that virtually did very little selling, except like towards the end, like ate all the offense from Phoenix in that Grave Consequences match, is going to be even stronger now. Yeah, I'll pass. You have fun with that, Phoenix.
Yep.
So now I'm curious because I took that. Who is your high spot?
You know what? I'm going to keep it simple. My high spot is going to be Daivari because, sure, he lost by disqualification, but at the end of the day, he's got the best kind of backup, and he's got the money to keep that kind of backup for as long as he wants.
Perfectly said. Nothing I can really add to that.
And I think that we have a co-honorary high spot, that being Ivelisse, Angelico, and Son of Havoc, because the match was amazing. Angelico specifically had an amazing... Well, and that's another beautiful thing, is that all three of them got to shine in this match. Ivelisse showed the heart and desire to win, climbing up the ladder with 1 foot. Angelico had the ridiculous dropkick. Son of Havoc had the amazing comeback spots where it was 3-on-1, and the ridiculous shooting star onto the table, even though that got kind of ruined by the table. So all three of them had amazing moments where they shined tonight, and that, to me, is what makes them special.
Definitely. Absolutely. Love Strange Bedfellows right now. Be interesting to see if their relationship does grow and they, become closer and stronger as a team as time goes on.
Absolutely.
But with that said, is there anything else you want to say about this episode of Lucha Underground?
Close it out, baby. It was another amazing show, and I can't wait until next week where we can get our schedule back to normal.
Yeah, you and me both. Again, just thanks to the whole Lucha Underground crew for the TWitWoW shout-out. Meant the world to both of us. So thank you so much. But with that said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. What was your favorite moment from Lucha Underground this week? What do you think is going to be the fate of the crew? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pweetov, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook. Got a lot of Lucha Underground fans there. But if you want to keep the conversation to just Team TWitWoW here, myself and my cohort and commentary, we do have a subreddit for that Ashton personally created. The TWitWoW subreddit got some great feedback on there. So just keep the conversation going. As I always say, talk to us, and we will see you again for the World Cup live reactions coming to you on Sunday, and then we just do it all over again, baby. So TWitWoW content really exploding right now. You don't want to miss any of it. Until then, tune in, and peace out.